No, making art is hard in this economy, especially because um, hard work is hard to find, and it's just really, it's really stressful. Even finding part-time jobs because at the beginning of the career when I graduated back in 2020, it was the beginning of COVID. So like I was gonna try to find work, and then March came, and then eventually at the end of the year, I found work as like a video editor, which is like great and stuff. But it was good. It was sustainable at the meantime. But I think once I found that job wasn't really the best, so I continued to teach myself 3D like Blender through YouTube in 2020. So I had a lot of time inside. So I did the Blender Guru, did all the Blender Donut, and doing all that. It felt really nice to learn 3D because I graduated. I did like I did like a media degree, so I did a lot of just video editing and all that, some 3D classes, and eventually I got a friend who recommended me a job through Meta, and I was there for like 6 months, and then they just laid everyone off, which was like back in like 2022. It's kind of crazy. So like after that, I was like, hey, let me just do freelance. It should be easy to get work, and luckily I didn't. No, actually, not luckily, but unluckily, I didn't find any work, and it was it just made me kind of almost. I was like, is it worth doing 3D in like in that year? And AI wasn't even there yet, so that it wasn't that crazy yet. But I would just get a lot of scammer calls and a lot of job postings that were like just ghost jobs. They weren't even real, and I probably applied for over 300, 400 jobs in the past couple years. And I did like part time job at like Amazon, I did some Macy's, and I did that to sustain myself. And eventually, I couldn't really. I had to move back with family, and it was just I almost kind of just gave up on 3D and stuff. And I worked at a bakery. Um, I just moved back. Moved when I moved back. I moved towards like family and stuff. So I'm grateful to have that. But I even during the whole process, I was doing a lot of 3D art and just teaching myself how to do um, just Blender and Substance Painter and Unreal Engine. I watched a lot of videos on that, how to use it, and those were really cool to use. But I was more still back in Blender, and eventually I took like a class in Cinema 4D. I took it; it was great, but I barely even used that program, so it wasn't even. Yeah, it wasn't really worth paying for that, but it was a good process. But I wanted to get into Houdini because I like doing procedural animation. So now I got a course, and I'm actually taking that right now. It took me like a year to get back into that because it's a long course. But I learned about doing all the coding, not coding, but the procedural and all the nodes and stuff, all the nodes and everything. And I'm even learning right now. It's actually pretty helpful because in Blender I do a lot of procedural stuff and animations, and so I kind of want to do a workflow where I mix it. But even I worked at a bakery, and then I did like I do apply to some contests. There's one by Punisher if you know him, and I sometimes do animation contests where like thousands of people will follow an animation template they give you, and then you just make an animation of anything you want. And I did one where this mushroom character is walking up these steps, which was a template, and I got like top 100 in it. And then eventually, I got like one client from it, and it was like the biggest, pretty much was my first client. And I did like an animation character for them, and they it was my first time getting paid in like as a freelancer. I was like, oh great, and then I quit my baking job. I probably shouldn't have done that, to be honest. I was like, oh man, I got paid. I'm gonna get another client, and I didn't get a client ever again. And that was like about a year ago, and pretty much like I did some part time work. I did some gigs for events and stuff, and then eventually AI, like came around. It's like 2023, and then they're like, "Oh man, you could use AI and everything. You could use Claude, ChatGPT, and all that." And I'm thinking like I just want to keep making Blender and 3D, and everyone's like, oh, it'll take your job and everything. But now I'm just like, I don't think it will. I think it'll just be a tool that we can use. And I even started using ChatGPT for concept ideas. I make everything obviously. I'm not gonna have AI do it for me. But I got some concept ideas from ChatGPT, so it gives me ideas. Or if I have an idea, I'm like, hey, give me 5 different versions of this idea. And so that's the way I use it. And then I just recently started using Claude as well to like set up. I connected with Blender because recently Blender connected with like Claude, I think, and then you connect the servers. And so what I'm doing is I'm like, hey, set up a basic room for me, like an example, and then I go in there and I customize everything in myself. So that saves me some time, some ideas, because the room's there, so you can just customize it. But I've been using that. It's been pretty helpful. I just started using it, so it's still kind of new. It's not the best, but it's still a tool, and I'm gonna try to use it more because I want to use these tools that are around and that can save me time and everything. But um, yeah, it's been helpful to use that, but I don't think we should be too worried as 3D artists or 2D artists because we can use that to further advance our stuff. And even then, I'm still trying to find part-time work in the meantime. I've been applying here and there, and I'm getting a lot of rejections from like even places that are like Ross. They're like, hey, we reject him. Like, why? you know, it's Ross. Uh, but I've been playing here and there, getting help with family, doing gigs here and there. Have been helping a lot, just keeping me stable in the meantime. But one big thing I did was back in a couple months ago in December, November, I did a 3D mentorship on how to grow my brand as an artist. And at the time, I almost gave up on 3D. I was like, what's the point? Can't even make any money from this. And so and then I just started making my own brand through like using LinkedIn as the main thing because that's where a lot of businesses go. And so right now I put my niche as like a keyboard, PC, headphones product animator, and I just been like just connecting with a lot of companies, a lot of brands who focus on PC peripherals or gaming tech brands is my main thing. And so I just been like just connecting here and there. While in the meantime, I'm still teaching myself how to do 3D. I'm getting better at product animation, and so I've, I've kept using Blender as my projects and everything. I'm eventually going to use Houdini and mix into it, and then some video editing to help with social media because I use Instagram as my main one to just make shorts and reels, and I've been learning a lot about marketing. I've been reading a lot about books and marketing and stuff, and it's been great. There's one book called Artists Don't Starve. I think if you're an artist, you definitely should read that one because it teaches you about like how we can make money, but we gotta be smart about it. We gotta like be in communities. We gotta be with people. You can't just be by yourself. Even like on Discord or whatever online meetup, I use Eventbrite. I just find events on there, and I would just meet a lot of cool people. Even if they're not 3D artists, they're like 2D painters, and they just give me a lot of perspective on like just life and also you got to get out there. You can't just be inside all the time. Then I will play games. I'll On the weekends I'll chill, but throughout the week I'll try to network and just increase my 3D like branding or marketing or just Blender and then I'll keep doing those contests with people, which is why Punisher you should keep doing it. I mean, sorry, you should also do it as me because it's just a great way to push yourself. Not just that one, but there's a lot of contests on Discord. There's a 3D Discord groups that do a lot of contests as well. So I would just say, keep doing art. Try to use AI as a tool. Just don't. I know a lot of people don't like it. I would just recommend that like try to use it in whichever way you can, because there'll be people that advance towards you that'll use a tool. You can keep doing your like art and stuff, but maybe it'll give you faster ideas and everything. But pretty much like just be in community, get out there, don't be inside all the time, touch some grass, and keep keep learning your three skills. Learn a new skill at least a year. If you won't waste a year in your life if you learn the skill and you're productive. And most of the time I try not to watch TV, and throughout like the weekend, yeah, I'll watch a movie, I hang out with friends, but pretty much like just trying to make use of your time and read some books as well. Marketing, that's one I did. Some branding, whatever else can help you. Maybe you're not making a business, but maybe you could be like, hey, this can give you some art fundamentals on just growing your art and your skills. So just all those things are just really nice. And I try my best to be productive. I try to watch less shows and less video games. I think I'm like reading. I've been reading like Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I know it's not a nonfiction book, but it's just a really nice book. Like increase my vocabulary. Also a really nice story. So I get a lot of like storytelling ideas. I'm like 6 chapters in, but um, I don't know. Just reading by yourself, it's just really nice. But after a long day of doing three, it's nice. But I would just say do all this stuff, and it's been a long journey for me. I know other people had it harder for me, but learning freelance is definitely your entrepreneurship. It's not easy, but I think it's worth it if you keep pushing through. And I just wanted to just give my thoughts on that.